What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Cold Calling Podcast. You are in for a treat. One mic is not enough. Two mics is not enough. Three mics is not enough. Four mics is not enough. Hold on. Five mics is not. The guest that we have on today, oh my goodness, it is fire. So welcome. I'm your host, Larry Long Jr., CEO, that's Chief Energy Officer of LLJR Enterprises. Want to give big ups to Monster Connect for powering the Cold Calling Podcast. Once again, Monster Connect, they leverage technology, they leverage human resource to deliver actual conversations. When you're making those calls, who wants to talk to voicemails? You want to have real conversations. You want to connect with decision makers. Check out Monster Connect. Now, with the podcast, our hope is to provide great insights, great nuggets, great knowledge, great gems to help you, yes, you, sales reps, BDRs, SDRs, AEs, enterprise reps, sales leaders. We want to help you up-level your game and succeed in sales. Now, hey, there's just a warning. It's about to go down. I'm rocking my storyteller shirt. I should have been rocking the Keep Dialing shirt, but he didn't hook me up with one. But I am honored to welcome today's guest. He's one of my great friends, and this is just a treat. He's a world-renowned sales trainer, world-renowned content creator. He's a founder. He founded Keep Dialing. He's an advisor to the fastest growing companies that are out there. He's a top sales influencer. You can check him on all the socials. To me, he's a friend. He's a mentor. He's a role model. He's a coach, a big supporter, a partner. And I just got to give him his flowers right now. Let's give a warm welcome to brother Morgan J. Ingram.
Oh, what's going on, man? What's happening?
Man, welcome. I can't tell you how excited I am. I got to take a deep breath. I got to calm down because I'm nervous, man.
There's no need to be nervous. We're here.
Having the man, the myth, the legend here, this means so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Morgan. I like to kick it off with what I call who, what, and why. Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it?
Morgan J. Ingram, born and raised out of Atlanta, Georgia, went to University of Georgia, so go Dogs. And what do I do? So I have done sales training in the past, and as you mentioned, I've trained the top teams in the world, and that was fantastic with a great opportunity with JB Sales. Now I've transitioned, and I'm teaching people how to amplify their content that can turn into revenue. Essentially, the best way I put it is called edutainment. And how can you provide an edutainment to your audience in the revenue marketing journey and support that as you guide them through that cycle? And then what was the last one?
Why do you do that? I mean, I can hear the passion in your voice. Why are you doing it?
It's a good question. So why I do everything that I do is I've always had a mantra of impact over income. So when I first started creating content in 2016 for SDRs and created the SDR Chronicles, it was purely to have impact with people and show people that this was possible, that they could go do this, and that this is something that can be done. And so with all those things across the board that can be done, that's the reason why I do it. And I do believe that content is the future. And if you know how to do it, you're going to be put in the right spot. And so that's the why I do it every single day.
Man, I love it. Edutainment, helping, serving audiences with their content creation. Hey, this is hot off the press. And this is what I call spill the tea. I got some sweet tea over here from luckily, I don't have any hot wings from Bojangles, but I do have some.
Oh, yeah. Don't do that. You picked yourself in a bad spot.
But I understand we the North. I heard a little birdie say something about a Drake collabo, hot off the press. What's popping in Toronto, October the 19th? I mean, you got me amped. What's going on, man?
Yeah. So we have the Amped Up workshop. If you're near the Toronto area or you're in Toronto, we'll have a workshop that will be free. This workshop will be at the LinkedIn offices, and they've graced us with that. So we're super excited about that opportunity. So yeah, I will be speaking on LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Nav. Jen Allen will be speaking on sales, and then we also have Will Aiken speaking on content creation. So yeah, I mean, you have everyone across the board ready to go. Jen Allen's fired up, Will is fired up, and also as well, like the exciting part about this is that we're just looking for people who want to become the one and upgrade their craft and enhance it, and this is where you want to be.
Man, that's phenomenal. Congratulations. I got to book my flight up north to Toronto.
Yeah,
I know you know how to put on an event. I remember more social than SaaS in Hotlanta. And actually that leads me into, why does it get you so fired up when someone calls it Hotlanta?
Yeah, it's just not what you should call it. I mean, it's just the wrong term. Like everyone has that. Like there's certain things that you shouldn't say, and Hotlanta is one of them. Like it won't go well. It's also, I'm trying to protect you, right? Because if you come in here and say Hotlanta, it's problematic. I'm just letting you know. It's not going to be good for you.
Man, I appreciate that. Good looking out. For everyone who's just tuning in right now, any questions that you have for the great Morgan J. Ingram, please put them in the comments. We will make sure that we get all of your questions answered. But hey, here go my questions. This is what's top of mind. And we're going to hop into it. Morgan, if you were a sales professional in a corporate setting, I know that you're a sales pro wherever you go, but if you were in corporate sales right now, what are the top 2 to 3 tactical actions that you would take? And really, I'm going to hit it from 3 segments. If you were an SDR, BDR, what are you doing today? If you're an AE, what do you do today? And if you were a sales leader, what would you be doing today in order to elevate and be the best that you can be?
Okay, so I'm an individual contributor or a sales leader?
Let's go SDR, BDR, individual contributor. If you're an AE, individual contributor. And then if you are a sales leader, what are the actions that you'd be taking right this second? Top 2 to 3.
Okay. All right. So 3 different distinctions. Okay, so if I'm an SDR, BDR. Okay, yeah. I'm going to say it depends, right? Because there's so many different markets and things of that nature. But let's just say like whatever. The first thing that I would do is I would start to find out ways that I can be more active on LinkedIn or any social platform that my audience is in. And I don't mean that you need to post every single day, but I just find a way to be active. Maybe I do some commenting on executive posts. Maybe I'm creating a 1 post a week. This doesn't take too much of your time to do, and this is a really good thing that you can do. So I do that. Number 2 is most teams have sales nav, so I would get really good at sales nav. And so what I would do is I would build all the lists of everybody that has rejected me, or maybe they rejected my email or whatever it is. And I would see all the companies that previously maybe that clients have worked at or whatever it may be. And so I'm going to start reaching out to those people and use sales nav as a trigger point to then reach out to those things, right? So that's what I'm going to do there. The third thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start really understanding my time management. Because we live in a hybrid world where things easily can get lost, I'm going to start mapping out things to make sure that I can get in front of the people I'm looking to get in front of. So that's what I would do for the SDR, BDR.
Love it.
Commentary on that before we go to the AE, because there's a whole...
I love it. And I love how you talk about locking in on the time management piece. And I've been, I don't have any muffins right now. We need muffins back.
Oh, yeah.
the workshop, the master class that you provided on time management, showing your calendar, showing really how to manage your time is phenomenal. And I love how you talked about get on the social that your audience is in, and then leverage Sales Navigator from an expert level. Let's move to the AE. If I'm an AE, what should I be doing to be the best that I can be right now?
Understand not to think about the sales, because this is going to be kind of conflicting for people. Don't think about the sales experience. Think about the buyer experience. So what I mean by that is like every step of the way. So discovery to bid funnel to bottom of the funnel. What should that experience look like? So if you can understand what the experience looks like, you know what questions to ask, how to accelerate it, how to move forward, how to get people in the right spot, all those different things. So that's what I would be thinking of immediately when you are going to do this, right? So that's going to be absolutely critical across the board. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I'm going to go back again to sales nav, but different. So you should go and create a list of all the people that you've closed won or have closed business with. across the board, right? And so I would start reaching out back out to those people as well. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is I would spend some time in AI to understand how you can prospect at scale and reach out to certain people as well. So those are things that I would do.
Ooh, that's hot right there. Buyer experience, sales navigator, close one, making those connections, and then chat GPT, other AI,
Yeah.
IM robot to leverage technology at scale. I love it. Now, as a leader, if I'm a sales leader, so much going on, I don't have time. What are the top 3 things that I should be doing right now as a sales leader?
So number one is I would try to identify, this is base level advice, but really understand what are the strategies and systems I need to put in place so that I can focus on the things that I need to focus on and not be all over the place. So what are the strategies and systems for coaching, for prospecting, for selling, for referrals? What's going on there, right? That's super incredibly important. Number 2 is I'm kind of going back to things that we've already talked about, but I would find ways, how do we integrate AI into our strategies and process to give my reps time back in their active selling times? What are things I can be doing? How can I take advantage of that, et cetera? So those are really big and important things you should be doing as well. And right at this current moment, this is a timely advice. This is not holistically advice. There's a lot of events going on. I try to find out how can I get reps to certain events as well.
Ooh, events, strategies, and systems integrating AI. That's fire right there. Our man Carlos Soto said we ready. He's ready for that smoke. He's ready for that fire. Now, SDR Chronicles. I mean, I don't know if that's what put you on the map, but I know that's when I saw you.
Yeah.
We had brought in John when I was at Pendo, and he said, hey, don't say anything to anyone, but I got this millennial, Morgan Ingram, coming in. He's going to come in and just change the game. He's going to shake it up. Tell me about how did you get started with the SDR Chronicles? It had never been done. How do you come up with that idea?
Well, the interesting thing about, I would probably say up until maybe 1960s, 70s, could be earlier. I'm just kind of like hypothesizing here. Most of the stuff is like not inherently new, right? Most of it's not. Someone's done it before and you just add a variation to what has already been done. So for the SDR Chronicles, there are a lot of people who've documented their journey, right, before on YouTube, but it had never been done before in this space, right? The concept had been done, but it had not been done on LinkedIn or at all in B2B tech. So I came up with the idea because of shout out to Ralph Barcy. He wrote an article and said, hey, here's what I would do if I went as an SDR and I was starting out, right? And so I looked at that article and then I tweeted him and said, hey, I'm going to do this. And then I did it like 5-6 months later, and super straightforward. I just documented my journey as an SDR. I talked about best practices. I talked about what worked and what didn't. And still to this point, I was talking about it. I was talking about it earlier to someone, and it was like such a surreal experience. And I even looked back on it, and it didn't even feel like it was real. Like I would wake up to like 100 to 200 messages a day of like just people asking me advice on sales development. Like, can you lead this? Can you do this? Da, da, da. And I was only like 5 months into the role, and it was my first job out of college. So I really didn't know how to handle all of that at once. It was a lot. And so I just did everything I could to do that. But the reason that it was successful is because I just kept it real. I was in a role. I spoke on things that I only knew of. I never talked about leading a sales team. I never talked about closing big enterprise deals because I hadn't done that. What I did and what I was focused on was being the best at sales development and prospecting. And I believe that path is what led to people to be really engaged with it. And that's what really put me on the map was that series. I did over 100 videos for it. I think I finished at like 125. And I think that was just like the main thing that got me there.
Goodness gracious. So shout out to Ralph Barcy. I love how you took something that you learned and you said, you know what? I could just noodle on it. I could just think about it, but you actually took action, which very rarely happens. And I know that you see this. We've had this conversation. Not many people take action. If you don't mind sharing, there's a nugget that you gave me when you look at folks that you train. There's like a percentage of people that are automatically tuned out. There's a percentage of people. What's been your experience there of the people that actually take the knowledge that you're giving and actually go and apply it and actually do something with it?
10%. I would probably say even less now. I'd probably say it's 5. It's very, unfortunately, it's very easy to be comfortable in this world right now because we're working from home. You don't have to go to the office. You don't even have to put on nice clothes if you don't want to, right? You don't have to do that. You could literally just have like a normal t-shirt on and shorts and be chilling. You don't really have to do a whole lot, right? And I'm not diminishing hard work. I'm just saying it's just not the same as it was years ago where you had to like go get dressed, go to work, go get on a train. Like it was a lot of things you had to go do. You didn't have social media, I was around the time we didn't have social media, but I know there was, my parents' generation, grandparents' generation. They just had a lot harder. So I think because now it's so easy to get wrapped up in things and not do anything, right? Yeah, so I would say 5% of people will take the advice and actually do something. And I saw a tweet the other day, and it's interesting. It was like everything that we think about doing, we tend to overcomplicate it and make it seem like it's very hard to accomplish. And he was like, most people though, like you said, basically the bar is like 10 bars lower than what you think it is.
Wow.
But when you think about it, like that's pretty true because if you go on a sales team today and ask them how many cold calls they make, they do like 10 to 20 a week. That doesn't even make sense to me. We were doing like 100, 120 a day. 10 to 20 a week. What do you do? I just don't get it. Right? Unless you're killing it, then that's fair play. But like most people, like, what are you doing? Right? So the bar is 10 bars lower than what you think it is. And so when you think about it that way, it's just like execute and just do it and get out there and have a strategy. That's important, but you want to be able to execute.
Man, we need to get you a sponsor from Nike. Just do it.
Yeah. That's what it is, though.
We got a great question here from Jillian J. When you say AI for prospecting at scale, would you please offer an example? Thank you in advance.
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into this one because it could be a tangent and a rabbit hole in itself. The best way to put it is that you have to train ChatGPT to understand what a good email is and then replicate the frameworks and the language of a good email. So, for example, if you were to go on ChatGPT right now and type in, write me an excellent cold email, it would not be able to do that for you. If you started a brand new conversation, the email would be terrible. I've tested it. I've literally said, write me a good email. I said, write me the best cold email of all time. Write me a cold email that gets a response. Write the best email that you've ever seen and to this persona. It can't do it because it doesn't know what good is. It's only pulling from just historical data from September 2021. So it's 3 years off. Oh, no. Yeah, 2 years off. My bad. I'm already in 2024. 2 years off, right? And so the thing is that like when you think of it that way, you have to make a decision on how to program it appropriately. So I essentially just have prompts that analyze the emails, and based on the emails being analyzed, I then could replicate those analyzed emails to then create a foundation of emails to go ahead and use. The goal with AI is not to be a genie, and if you think so, then you will fail. The goal of AI is to get 80% of the way there and then personalize on top of that. So essentially that's like an example that I can give you. I don't have like a screen share and I don't have like ChatGPT like to show you exactly what that looks like, but that gives you at least a tactical way of thinking about it to start moving towards it. You basically have to put your emails that are already successful and then you have to replicate that through ChatGPT.
Oh, I love it. Jillian, I got an idea. I'm not sure where you're located, but I know October 19th, you need to be in Toronto.
Pull up.
Which, speaking of one of our past guests, and this is actually a former colleague of mine, the Birdman. What happened to that boy? Ethan Bird. He said one day or day one, you're doing it day one. And Carlos came back and said, hey, for those that are in sales and they want to improve, they want to enhance their content creation skills, what are the areas that they should focus on? And do you have any resources other than AMP that you'd recommend to help them with their content creation skills?
So this is actually really important for everyone to understand that when you think of content creation, there's a part-time focus on it. There's like, I want to be a full-time creator, and you're creating to generate revenue, which is like, you don't really need to do a whole lot. And what I mean by that is you don't need to post like every single day. So the way I tell people is that first and foremost, you have to think about being a curator, and the areas you should focus on are what are information that I can take and then add my 2 cents or context to that will help people learn from what's going on. So you want to think about what are the pain points that a buyer has, and then from those pain points, how are you able to then get in front of those individuals to then articulate the points that you want? What do those points look like? Why are they important? And then what are the things that you can do to ultimately be successful and how you want to go about it? So the thing is that when you think about it in this way, right, this is how you're going to go out and get that success. And what do I mean by this is how you're going to go out and get that success? What I mean is that you have to think about what is the one thing I want to talk about this week, and do one post. Wow. Do that for 3 months, and then go to 3, and then go to 5. So content creation is like working out. When you go to the gym at the beginning, you're not going to probably go to the gym 5 times a week. But you can go 1 time a week, right? And so then you progress from there. And so the resources I'd recommend are going to YouTube and just getting a breakdown on like, hey, like what's content creation? There's a ton of great just videos that explain what that means. I also would take the time and take a step back and say, okay, ask yourself, what do you want to be known for? That's a big piece as well. I'm going to plug myself, but there's a LinkedIn creator course that I dropped in LinkedIn Learning. It literally tells you all the answers, by the way, like it's all there. And then another source I'd recommend is shout out to Will Aiken. Like I go follow him. He's a great example of how to get this done. Sales Feed as well. So those are just a couple of resources you can dive into.
Always a wealth of knowledge, always a great resource to guide people. And I got to give you your flowers, Morgan, because I don't know if you remember this, but this was right around April the 19th, 2020. And you shared with me, you said, hey, Larry, I see you doing a little short form content. I see your stuff here and there on my feed on LinkedIn, and it's all right. But, dude, you got to get on video. And I think I shared with you, nah, man, I got the face for radio. They're all going to laugh at me. Yep. And you said, I'll never forget these words. You said, Larry, I'm going to tell you like what my mentor told me. If you don't do it, you're being selfish because it's not about you. I was making it all about me. And you said something to the effect of, if you can impact one person in the positive, you got to do it. And I took that to heart. It was Wednesday, April the 22nd. I started my midday motivational minute. And today was episode number 175. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for that sage advice, that kick in the butt, the encouragement to cheer me on, and the Friday happy hours, which you started as well.
Yeah.
It's meant more to me than you could ever even imagine, more than you would ever know. Having that community that you created and that you curated, unbelievable. I think they say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and being able to have that access to you and others has been phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you. And I want to know where does that come from? You didn't have to tell me that. You could have just kept on, keeping on, but you shared that with me. You've invited me in the content house. You invited me in to the events that you've hosted. Where does that kind, caring, giving spirit come from, man?
Yeah, I mean, my parents are a big proponent of that. They always said, continuously give as much as you can and be kind to the people that are around you and show the spirit, right, as much as you can. And so that's the reason why that's there. I grew up in a Christian home. I do believe in God. I'm a Christian as well. And so that's just the household that I was brought up into. So if I see an opportunity to help someone out and I have a good sense of when that is, I will provide my insight and I will give that direction to that person. I don't feel like withholding information is a smart thing to do. I'm not a huge proponent of that. And I really focus on like just giving people the best I can and in the situations that I'm in. So when I see it, when someone needs it, like the sense is pretty right, I'm like, hey, this is what you should do. It typically helps them push in the right direction. I'm just a person of an enabler and a pusher. So that's just what I do.
I hope you know that's gonna last a lifetime, that impact. And my goal is to spread it to others. Like you said, sharing is caring. And shout out to Mama, Papa, brother Ingram. I've had the opportunity to meet the fam.
You have. Shout out to the fam.
Now, this is the Cold Calling Podcast. I want to know, you're an expert. Keep dialing. Shoot, smiling and dialing. Where do you see the role of cold calling today? And I stole this banana phone from Beck Holland. She's in France, so she can't get it back.
Yeah, easily. She can't get it back, so she's not gonna be able to do it. Like, it's really interesting, right? Cold calling will always be impactful because if you can get someone on the phone, it's one of the best things that you can do. Right now, some could say, well, data, things of that nature. Okay, fair play. But I do believe that it's important. But here's like something that people may not want to hear, but this is just something that you have to take in consideration as well. Right now, cold calling is good because if you can get in front of an executive and talk to them, that's what they grew up in. So it's a good way to communicate with that individual. However, for like millennials and Gen Z, that's like not how they communicate. So I actually see it changing, and it will be there. I just don't know if the millennials and Gen Zs will pick up the phone to even have the conversations because that's just not how they communicate. So it's just something to be mindful of. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but you have to look at the upcoming generation. That's just not how they talk at all. Like, people do not like to use the phone to call people. It's very interesting.
I love it. I love that you talked about the importance of cold calling, the importance of conversations, actually having that dialogue. You mentioned it earlier, the power of events. You also slid it in there before I heard it. You talked about referrals as well as the content creation. And I love how you touched on where you see it going in the future with the changing demographic. That phone might be replaced by another avenue. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, Sales for the Culture. You're founder of Sales for the Culture. Mm-hmm. How did that come about? Why and how did you create this organization to support Black and brown folks that are in sales?
Yeah, so that came from the fact that it was in 2019. I really started noticing about 3 years creating the content in 2019. A lot of African Americans were reaching out to me being like, how do I get into tech? Like, I don't know what to do. And at that time, I think it was only me and like KD and maybe Nikki that were posting. That was like, that was it. And people have come along the way, like yourself and others that are at GB have now, paved the way for that. But back then, and Galen as well, but there really wasn't a lot of people. I thought I was the only one, to be fair. So like, I was like, all right, cool. Like, it is what it is. Like, I went to private school. I'm kind of used to this, so it's whatever. But the thing is that like, I got hit up a lot about it, and I didn't have the answers to the questions because I wasn't a VP of sales. I wasn't a sales enablement leader. So I could only answer the questions up to a certain degree. Like, I could answer for account executives. I could answer for SDRs, but I couldn't go really past that. Even managers I could do, but like past that, I was like, it's out of my realm. So I created it so everyone had a place and an environment to feel safe, that they could have conversations and feel like they could talk about things that they couldn't otherwise. And so that was the reason why it was built, and that was the reason why it's there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's been a great community that you've built. Hot take number 2. I got to know, when's the book coming out?
I started writing a book in 2018, and I wanted it to be like the spear of prospecting, and I wanted it to be the monster of prospecting. The goal I wrote down, I'm like looking around because I'm trying to see if it's still here so I could show y'all, like, I'm not like lying about this. No, it's not here. But in 2016, when I first started SDR role, the first page of my notebook, I wrote that I was going to be one of the most well-known people when it comes to prospecting, and this was going to be my dedication. And I dedicated to that for the past 7 years. And so, it's up to debate on whether that's true or not. But like, I believe I put a lot of time into prospecting. And the reason I'm saying all that, right, is because I just really wanted to be the best in that. And because I wanted to be the best in that, I was like, I want to write a book to just cement being the best in that. However, as I was writing it, it just didn't feel right. And then I was like, oh, okay, in 2020, I'll come back to it. We all know what happened in 2020. And then I was like, I don't really know what I want to write. And now, I feel like I really see it like being a 2025 thing. I have things I need to build and a company I need to focus on before doing a book. But I really want to talk about just like the journey of taking things on and what that looks like and how you can maximize your opportunities. Because that's just what I've done in my career. Like, I went to be an SDR. I didn't really know anything, and I learned how to prospect. I went to JV sales and learned how to do sales training, and that was a very difficult curve for me to transparently understand. But I figured it out every single time. So I believe that's what the book's about, is like, how do you go into a situation, unknown territory, and figure it out, and then dominate that territory? Very difficult for people to do, and I've been able to do that multiple times. So that's really what the book, I believe, is going to be about, but it could change. But I wanted to do more than just the prospecting piece. That's why I haven't written it.
I love it. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Morgan. You've got multiple books inside of you.
Yeah, there's a lot. I just find out the first one, like it's always the hard part.
You got it. And timing is everything, man. It really is. But I can tell you, I'm excited for the MJI book to come out. We've got brother Leonard Matlock, who I got to see in Atlanta, not Hotlanta, but ATL.
Yeah,
you
careful.
Two are inspiring.
Careful.
And are two of the voices I love to listen to in this space. Thank you both for not being selfish. Thank you, Morgan, for being open to serving this global community, this worldwide community. We have a question from Steve Yu. I'm not sure where Steve Yu is dialing in from, but he said they debate at work regarding drip campaigns, email campaigns, and the subject line, the importance to simply get the email message open. What are your thoughts on subject lines?
Subject lines are important, but it's two-pronged. It's not just the subject line. It's the first 3 to 5 words, right? So it's the first 3 to 5 words of an email, and it's the subject line. When you do a subject line, you need to keep the subject line less than 5 words, and you need to keep it approximately 3 words. When you do the subject line, you need to make sure that it's simple to read and consume, and it's not overwhelming for people. Like, it's something internally that they would get. And so that's the key there. And so that's what you need to be thinking about in that realm.
Wow. Keep it simple. The subject line and the first, you said 3 to 5 words?
First, yeah, you want to keep it less than 5 words. You want to keep the subject line typically 3 words. You want to keep it simple, that someone would understand if it was an internal email. And then you need to make sure the first 3 to 5 words of your email are also on point too. Because if they're not, no one's going to open it.
Wow. Dropping absolute gems. We've got Deb tuning in cold calling. We have a very few seconds to get the right attention to buy the next minute and set up a meeting from there. What are your thoughts there? And I want to dig in. I can't remember exactly, but you were going through an actual tactical cold call, and you said something that just stuck with me. It was at some point in the intro cold call that you kind of put your hands back. It was kind of like,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it was disarming, and that just it's crazy what my crazy mind holds on to. But I thought that was brilliant. If you don't mind sharing what Deb said, as well as what is that?
Yeah. So we'll talk about it. So the thing with an introduction is you have to find out what is key to you. That's important. Like, if you don't know what's key to you, then you're not going to be successful. And what I mean by key to you is like, what is your style and what's your personality? If it doesn't match your style and personality, there's just like, this really isn't going to work out for you, like, transparently. So this is what works for clients that I've trained this on, and what was successful for them, and also what's been helpful for me personally. So it's called the PLA, and it stands for pleasant, laughing, and arms up. So essentially, Deb, let's say I'm calling you. I'd be like, hi, Deb, thanks for taking my call. Hey, look, I know I'm catching up the blue here. However, do you have a few moments to chat? And so the reason that works is, number one, you're pleasant. So you thank them for taking the call. So it's a psychological trigger. So that psychological trigger opens them up to be like, hey, like, why is he taking me for the call? The L is the laugh. So, hey, do you have a few moments to chat? So that creates levity in the conversation, which then turns into someone either laughing with you or feeling a little bit more comfortable. And then A is arms up. So just like you saw I do, I say, do you have a few moments to chat? Moments is ambiguous. It could be seconds or minutes from there. most people, about 75 to 80% of the time, will say, yes, what do you want? Who are you? What's going on? Notice how I didn't say my name because it's not important yet. It's a pattern interrupt. And then I go off to the races with the value prop. And that's how that works.
Goodness gracious. We got worldwide. We got folks tuning in from Central America, South America. Camila from Honduras. I'm taking notes over here. I don't know if she meant to say this is fire. This is fire. You were touching the people, Morgan. Now I want to rewind because you were sharing about your book ideas and your book concepts. And I know that you had a podcast. I think it was called All the Way Up. We're going one up.
One Way Up
podcast.
Yes.
Which was absolute fire. But I want to, my question here is, you went out on your own with AMP. You're getting amped. Walk me through how that journey's been, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the twists, the turns, the surprises. The people want to know, and maybe they don't, but I want to know, what's that journey and that adventure been like?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and it's been a very hard transition because, as I just said, I'm not necessarily building a sales training or outbound shop, which would be the next progression step. If you were in my shoes, most people would do that. They'd be like, okay, well, I've done prospecting and sales development. I'll just go into outbound, and then I'll help people with their outbound. That would be the most next logical step. I just felt like I look at things in decades, and I felt like the next 8 to 10 years or decade wasn't something I wanted to focus on, and I didn't think that was the future. I believe the future is edutainment, content, and how do you entertain the audience so that they feel likeness towards you that they'll buy in the long run. Now that's a lot harder to say and to prove because it's a newer concept in the B2B space. It's not new like in the other spaces, but it's newer in the B2B space. So proving that, showing that is just so different, right? It's massively different than most. And so in that transition, you're known for something, and yet you want to be known for something new. And so I've actually been really working on what do I want to be known for now, which ironically, last week I came to the conclusion of what that is. But as I've been building, it's been, what does that look like? And it's also been an evolution period for me in my life, personally and professionally, because I've realized that, and I think everyone knows this if you go off on your own, and you know this, Larry, as well. It's just like an evolution of yourself. Like you just really, you're really seeing like what you're made of. Like, okay, like this is not going the way I want. I got to pivot. I got to do this. I got to try this out, right? It's an ongoing pivot, and this market has not made it easy as well, right? The external factors of the market also have to make you to adjust that, and the market is not an excuse. It's just what's happening, and you have to figure out how to adjust that accordingly as well. So it's not been the easiest transition of all time. I'll transparently say it's been a harder one, but I'm not saying that the journey hasn't been fun and it's been rewarding. Like things are actually going well, all things considered, to be fair. And, I've been able to, put myself in a really good spot, but also the evolution of that is what's made it a hard transition. Because now you're like, I did this thing and now I want to go do something else. And I have to submit myself in something different based on what people know me for. And you have to tell them what that is while also building as well in the midst of everything. So that's what makes it interesting.
Wow. Rebranding on the fly. What's been most rewarding?
Seeing people support me as I'm still continuously figuring out messaging, vision, and things of that nature. I think as in the past month and a half, things have been more clear, at least for the team internally, and that's been great. The most rewarding thing is just people supporting where I'm looking to go, even though it's tangibly not there. So that to me is rewarding, to see people being like, "Oh, I'm in for that ride," even though I have no idea exactly what the ride may look like. But I'm in for the ride. They understand the vision, which is key, right? And that's what I want.
I love it. Now you're active on all platforms. I see you getting your workout in. Seeing you giving the fist bump, getting that dedication, and I commend you to it. This is my hot take right here. When am I going to see Morgan Ingram rocking the mic on the big stages? Because you need the mic, because people need to hear what you have to say. Are there any plans? Is there any desire to get back on the speaker circuit?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that like, I think it was like, let's split the last time. It was like last year or something like that. It's just building a company just requires all of your energy. You get very consumed by it and obsessed by it that you don't really have time to do a whole lot of other things. So and also as well though, again, remember it's a transition. So the things I talked about in the past, even if I get asked to do them, I don't inherently want to do them as much as I used to traditionally, right? Like I still will do SKOs and things of that nature, and I do those. But the things I get asked to do that I might speak on, I may not want to do that because I'm trying to transition to different topics. And those topics I'm not known for as much as the other ones. So that also creates that piece as well. So, but it really just comes down to just the transition as well. And multiple people have gone through this transition. It's not like a new thing. Like The Rock went from WWE to being an actor. You know, like Gary Vee went from wine to like, you know, social media. Like Lewis Howes went from LinkedIn to the Greatness podcast. Like Patrick McDavid went from insurance and now he's running like a whole media conglomerate. So these things take time, and I know that, and I have to tell myself to be patient every single day because I've already seen the people that I admire. They've gone through the same exact stage where they're just looking to shift, figure it out, trying to make pivots, and then they go from there.
Man, I commend you. I commend you, and I want to say thank you because I know the Cold Calling podcast doesn't necessarily align with what you're doing now. but you're
hey, look, I'm always in the deep. I'm always in the cold calling. You know, that's my thing. It's keep down. That's where I started, so you never can neglect that.
Oh man, I appreciate that, and I can't wait to see you sharing your journey. Now, you gave some great tactical tips to SDRs, BDRs, to AEs, the sales leaders. I'm going to flip the switch. We're going to go to this perspective to those budding or even emerging entrepreneurs, those folks that are trying to build something special like you. What advice? And I know it depends on where they're at, but in general, what advice would you share if you could just kind of distill the lessons that you've learned and someone saying, hey, I want to be like you, what tips would you give them?
Yeah. Look, I'm saying calling myself an established founder yet. So I don't know if you want that yet, but what I would say is, number one is this was actually really good advice, and it was so simple. Write down all the things you do on a daily basis, because that made me understand how much I was doing that was like just taking all my time, which was like a good assessment point. So I just tell people to just write that out. What are things that you're doing? What could you delegate? What could you eliminate? What could you be doing more of that you on your calendar? That was really interesting. Number two is being willing to ask for help. That's hard it's hard in general, but being willing to ask for help. And then this is something I'm narrowing down as well. It's just like finding out like what are you uniquely good at that no one else is. Like, how can you build the business like around you, and not around you as in like you're the main person you can't scale, but like how could you build around the skill set and the energy you have, right? If you look at all the founders, like Zuckerberg's a good example. Like he built something that like is in the vacuum of what he is, right? He's not a person he's not an extroverted person, but he does understand social dynamics, and he was a good engineer. So he was able to build, that product and then go from there, right? So you just have to figure out like what is the thing that you're actually good at, and then how do you build around that so that you can have a company that can support you. So that's how I think about it as well.
That's fire. And Deb gave a shout. Hey, thanks, Morgan and Larry.
Yep.
You are dropping absolute fire. I got a few more questions for you. This one, I was looking in the archives, and I think it was last week. You made a post about employee advocacy, and it was right around what it is, what it isn't for organizations I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of them supporting their employees' content creation.
Yep.
What are your thoughts there? Because it is so competitive out there in terms of organizations finding great talent. I think we're going to see a shift where organizations are going to be like, hey, how do we find those good people again? How do we keep our good people? What are some thoughts there around that employee advocacy?
Yeah, so when you think about in the employee advocacy piece, like the main thing, right, is what is another amplifier that I can have from a revenue stream standpoint. So a revenue amplifier is getting your executives and sellers to post on LinkedIn, for example. You don't need all of them to do it, but if you get 3 to 5, you're in a better spot than most of the organizations, because if you create content, what's going to happen is that you're now putting all these other people in the shadow of your content. That's why you want to be able to create the content and focus on it and get the most out of it, right? So don't neglect going in and saying, hey, I'm going to go and, create these different pieces of content for the people I'm looking to get in front of, right? To make sure that you can amplify and get another stream of revenue for these individuals. So that's the reason why I'm an advocate for it. You do need to make sure that there's freedom guardrails. You do need to give them a framework and a system. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And when you said amplify, revenue amplifier, I didn't put it together, man. The name AMP. And I know that, help me understand, it's Ascension Media Productions.
That's correct. That's correct.
Where does the name come from?
So I was thinking about what is evolution, and evolution is ascending to your highest potential. If you think about every organization, the goal of the organization is to ascend to its highest potential. And so the word ascension came from like the highest peak of evolution that you could have. So if you're looking to do marketing at the highest level or edutainment or things of that nature, you need to be able to ascend. So then I thought ascension. And then I was like, well, media, because everyone wants to go towards more media. So that makes sense. And productions, because it's like, we can produce all types of things. We can produce employee advocacy. We can produce an event activation. We can produce content through me, right? And so that's what made sense. And then it so happened that it stood for AMP. And I was like, well, AMP, amplify. It all just made sense. So I was like, okay, let's just do that.
It's all tying together. As we wrap, Morgan, as people go, what do you want them to really, if there was one nugget, one key takeaway, and you've given so many gems, what's that one big takeaway that you think people need to hear right now?
It's not going to be anything overly complicated. It's going to be actually pretty simple. I would say go find the one thing that you want to try or test and go execute it in A/B test, because right now in this market, so many things are happening. You got to find something you can A/B test and go execute on. So that might be the new thing that's going to help you. And I would just say, hey, go A/B test, go try those things out, and that will be successful for you.
So simple, yet so difficult and so profound. Final question I got for you. What's your word of 2023? We're coming up on 9 months of the year through. What's your one word?
So I do one word at the beginning of every single year, and it's proven to be accurate, which is evolution. There's a lot of things that I've had to understand, evolve on, and grow with. And so as a part of that, I've really been able to understand a lot of things that maybe I did before. So I would say evolution is the word for this year for sure. I don't know what the one is for next year yet, but like that's what it is for now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Morgan, from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. For those that tuned in, thank you so much for joining us live. Steve, yes, absolute fire. I agree. Morgan's always dropping the fire, which is why I was so excited about this episode. Morgan, we just want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom, your insight, your experiences, your gems. And I just encourage everyone out there, please connect, please support. How can we best support you, Morgan? What can we do to support you? Because we're thankful and grateful for all the support you provide us.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to support me right now is like this event is absolutely critical for me right now. Like I mentioned, the Amped Up Workshop, October 19th in Toronto at the LinkedIn headquarters. If you are around the area or in the area or know someone in the area that this could be helpful for, check it out. Like I said, we have a sales track, a content creation track, and a LinkedIn track, and it's going to be action-packed. Like Lavender's going to be there, whole crew. We're really going to have a great time with this. So I definitely come through, check it out. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm going to share this. Morgan didn't say it. If you're not in Toronto, hop on a plane and be there. Take action right now, because if not, you're going to wonder, what if? And we see what happens when you take the what if and you make it happen. Magic happens. So my encouragement is share it, but also be there. Be there in the building. So I just want to say thank you again, Morgan. A reminder to everyone, please join us next Wednesday, September the 6th. Same bat time, same bat place. We'll see you at 1 o'clock Eastern. Our next guest coming in from across the pond in Scotland, the queen of conversation and the founder of Making Conversations Count. We're excited to welcome Wendy Harris. Morgan, I think I could be wrong. You do a mean Scottish accent, don't you?
No, I do not. No. Nobody wants to hear my Scottish accent or my UK accent. I want one. That'd be great. But no, nobody wants to hear it. I promise.
I've heard your English accent, and it was all too elusive, kind of like the mixtape. But
yeah, it's the last thing that you want to hear. I don't think anyone here would benefit from it. I'd probably get roasted, which is fair play.
Oh goodness, Morgan, I can't thank you enough, man. Wishing you all the best, continued success. Keep shining bright. Keep getting people amped up. Keep doing the daggone thing in edutainment. Did I get that right? Edutainment?
You're right. That's spot on.
Yep. I love it. Well, we'll see everyone on the flip side. Thank you for dialing in. Peace.
See y'all.